Hey, everybody. What's up? Welcome to a Moment of Clarity. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. Glad you guys are here. Please take a second to share this and click subscribe and click the thumbs up and all that stuff. So I titled this video, The Truth About Gaza, because I was scheduled to have on someone who is in Gaza on the ground, lives there, grew up there. So I kind of figured she would have a very important and good take on all this. Unfortunately, while I confirmed with her yesterday, I haven't heard back from her in the last hour. So I don't think she'll be joining us. If she happens to show up while I'm talking about other things, then I will bring her into the show here. Hopefully I'll have her in the upcoming days. But yeah, I'm not surprised. Don't really blame her because, guess what? A lot of shit's going down there, and, appearing on the Moment of Clarity live stream may not be at the top of her list right now. She may be like, my fucking house is on fire. I'm sorry. I'm not really going to, the internet connection is not great because the house is on fire. So, I don't blame her if she's not able to show up. I don't know what kind of internet connection. Not to mention it's also 10 p.m. there. So there's that too. There's many things that can make that type of thing difficult. And anyway, that's why she's not here. That's why the title is The Truth About Gaza. But I brought other stories just in case we needed to talk about those, or we had time to talk about those instead. So I'll be getting into those. I'll be getting into the defense budget, into the Pentagon, into the trillions of dollars that is wasted there. There's an update as to what happened there. Oh, I also wanted to actually respond to one of the comments I just already saw earlier. Eternal Doorman asked me, Lee, I was wondering whether my receiving $100, so I'm assuming this person, although I don't know their real name, is talking about the Solidarity Fund we have going. Many of you know about it. All of your donations in Super Chat or on Venmo at Lee Camp, all those donations go to people who are struggling right now. You can apply to get a little help at commoncensored@protonmail.com. And by apply, I mean just email and tell us the situation. But so I guess Eternal Doorman's talking about that. So he said, I was wondering yesterday whether my receiving $100 from a registered Russian agent was something that might cause problems when I try to get into the United States if I ever make it. Yeah, you're fucked. It's over. You are so screwed. I would honestly dig a hole in the ground and stay in there for at least 5 to 10 years, maybe till the IRS stops looking at those things. No, in reality, of course, it would not impact you at all. But also, I am not a Russian agent. I am not a registered Russian agent. The only thing, many of you followed the drama that went on with the Trump administration and others declaring that RT America, the TV channel, had to register as foreign agents, when in fact it was unprecedented to make a press outlet do that. And look at all the other press outlets from other countries that are in the U.S. that have shows that report from the U.S., etc. BBC, CBC, Chinese outlets, although those also eventually had to register as well. But you have numerous outlets from other countries that are in the United States, and none of them had to register. Almost none of them had to register as foreign agents, but RT did. So anyway, that being said, I personally did not have to register as a foreign agent. I am not a foreign agent. Most of you know that. Born and raised in the United States. Not that that should really matter. Like, if you were born somewhere else, and you lived here, I'd still take your opinion on what the fuck is going on in the United States. But anyway, it looks like she did show up. So this is exciting. But anyway, I'll just finish this thought real quick. So no, don't worry about that. If you are in need, email commoncensored@protonmail.com. And all the donations are going to those who are struggling. So I would like to introduce, unfortunately, her video stream seems to be sideways, but I would like to bring in from Gaza, Malak Mater. Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Malak Mater.
Better. Yes, Malak.
Okay, thank you so much for being here. I know I'm not surprised the internet connection's not amazing, but that's okay. I really do appreciate your time. It is so important, and I know a lot's going on right now. I just want we've been covering it as best we can, but obviously the coverage coming out of Gaza for those of us in the United States is not great. And even if you go to the independent outlets, you don't know how much access they have. So I would love to hear about your situation and also whether you have lived in Gaza your whole life and what that's been like.
All right. Thank you for having me first. Yes, I was born and raised in the Gaza Strip. In 2017, I went to Turkey to study my BA degree. And I came here for a visit after attempts to get into Gaza because Gaza is under siege. So now I'm living my fourth attack on the Gaza Strip since I was 8, and then another war when I was 12, and then another when I was 14. And now that I'm 21, I'm living my fourth war. So, yeah.
It's unbelievable
Yeah.
and horrific. What is it like for you personally over the past few days? Do you have to? I mean, are the bombs raining down from Israel? Are they centered in a certain area, and you can stay somewhere that seems relatively safer, or is it you have no idea?
We do not have any shelters. So schools get bombed, hospitals get bombed, health ministries get bombed, and even cemeteries. So we are alive, and also people who are dead are also attacked by the Israeli airplanes. And living by the sea, I'm also attacked by the bombings from the navies, from the gunboats. So imagine that it's a siege where people cannot travel. They are trapped from the sea and from the ground and from the sky. And when we are under attack, we are also trapped the same way because the bombings are coming from the ground, from the sea, and from the sky. So when there are bombings happening around my area, because I live in the city, and the target seems to be on the residential buildings where I live, there is no place to go and other than your home and the streets, and neither is safe. So yeah, it's been almost 10 days, and it's the situation is indescribable. I would say, like I can't put it in words. Being a 3 war survivors and now surviving the fourth or not yet, I don't know, makes me feel that this one is much worse. Although the previous one was 50 days of attack, but this one is harder because you feel that death is happening at any second. Even at the time I'm speaking to you or I'm speaking at different interviews, I do have to make the warning that if the electricity cut or my internet cuts, it means that something happened. So this is the situation. Every time, um, every day I wake up, I just feel it's kind of a miracle because the bombings get concentrated at the time of night. So it's in a term, in a different words, it's a psychological war. So
Right.
knowing that children sleep at night and people sleep at night, so it's the time where bombings really start shelling in a very intense, in a very like I feel bombings. I know the feelings of even the man who's on the airplane, like firing the bombs. I'm an expert now. I could feel from the intensity, from the numbers of bombing getting shelled, that there is revenge and anger because the numbers is massive. Sometimes they would bomb for 40 bombings all at the same time on the same building, which is surprising because you can demolish a whole building, which happened of 15 floors, but they still bomb it with 30 and 40 bombings that are really heavy, that will make the ground shake under you, despite the fact that before, if the bombing would happen in the north, I wouldn't really be able to tell because I'm like not in the north. But now, no matter how far it is, whether it's in the north, in the east, I would still feel the house shaking. It's as an explosion. So the sounds that I hear and the effect that I see, it's more like an earthquake. It's not only an ordinary bombing.
Yeah, I can't pretend to even understand or relate. Many people have seen the video of the I think it was 12 or 15-story building where the AP and Al Jazeera were centered. Many people have seen that video of that building collapsing. And I know that they supposedly called them to tell them to get out beforehand, but that doesn't mean that it won't cost lives. And you see that building collapse, and the damage and the harm to the whole area has just got to be immense.
Yes, but I would like to clarify something about
Mm-hmm.
this request of evacuation.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, yes, they were like alarming people that they need to leave, especially at the building of Al Jazeera and AP where they are based. Uh, but hearing people getting out, they only give people just 5 or 10 minutes to evacuate. So I heard mothers say that because of the terror and the difference that your house is getting to be demolished within few minutes, some moms leave their kids inside and keep running because it's an acting that the mind cannot really imagine. It's like someone is telling me, I'm bombing where you are and just flee. So another disabled man, he got killed because he was not able to flee the house and in the time that he was meant to leave. So if you have an elderly person in the house, you cannot use the elevator. So you need to get him to run, although he would not be able to. So
Right.
in 5 to 10 minutes, how much you can do. And I will tell you something. In every Palestinian home from Gaza, we have like a bag ready. So we have a bag ready here in my parents' room where all the important belongings are, which is the birth certificates and passports and some money. So it's ready. Like it's always ready that because we are always having this threat of evacuation at any time. So it's a constant state of like horror. Like sometimes I just feel I filmed from my window the bombings at places that are just a few blocks away. And sometimes looking back at these videos, I just feel these are scenes from horror movies. It couldn't really be right because of the massive destruction and the mass explosion of colors like fire. So yeah.
What is your life in Gaza like, even when there aren't bombs raining down? I've heard a lot about it's difficult to get clean water. Some of the time, there's only 4 hours of electricity a day. What is the life like when it's not wartime?
Okay. So I came here in the 9th of March. I arrived the Gaza Strip after days getting really stuck and humiliated at the border of Rafah, the Egyptian border. So just a note that the Gaza Strip is only 365 kilometers and over 2 million people live there under siege. So we've been living under siege for 15 years, 2006. So it means that people traveling outside is a lot of work. It doesn't always work. So you might lose your scholarship, your opportunity to get your stay, or you have like a family reuniting. All these things are impossible without months of planning and months of putting your name there and registering. So it's a complex thing. So being able to get in and out is difficult, but I was able to get here as the border exceptionally opened. And I would say that Gaza was not living the best time, especially at the time of pandemic. We're speaking about limitations of everything, limitation of electricity, undrinkable water by 97%. So the water is poisonous. We're speaking about limitation of the medical health and like the medicine supplies. So I got COVID. So I tested positive. And when I took the PCR test, guess where I took the test? I took it in the street because of this uh, crowded, and because of this limitation in these hospitals in welcoming more and more COVID-19 patients. So people were dying with tens every day because of the lack of the medicine. So before, it was like it felt suffocating, like being under occupation and being under siege is suffocating, because you feel like you are in this tiny piece of land. Like, you feel like boxed in. You feel like you are in a cage. So, speaking about the pandemic, it was miserable. We were having lockdowns almost every single day. And then the attack happened, which made the things 10 or 100 times worse, because now we're speaking about mass destruction. We're speaking about neighborhoods getting erased, and a neighbor of the heart of the Gaza Strip getting erased, and also families getting erased. So the situation here is dire. It's 100% uh, terrible. So now with the attacks on residents, attacks on the commercial centers in the Gaza Strip, on the media, on the infrastructure. So now I only have 4 hours of electricity, and I'm not hopeful I will get more. I might not even have access to electricity anymore. So yeah, this is the situation briefly.
I mean, it's incredible and horrifying. What is it that is it? What is it that you feel you can do? I mean, I guess get the word out. Does it feel like the word is getting out more this time than the last time Israel was bombing Gaza, or does it feel the same, like just deja vu?
Definitely. Like, I'm seeing a lot of changes, and for some reasons. So, first, Palestinians, not only from the Gaza Strip, but also in the West Bank, from Sheikh Jarrah, from like the occupied territories, are given the chance to speak. And we're speaking about big media that for so long and so till now, they are like right wing, or they are pro-Israel. So now, given this voice for Palestinians to speak about things that are happening, about injustice, is something that I have not seen much in 2018, where there were limitations on the numbers of people who were given the chance to speak, like in live interviews and articles. And now what I'm seeing is people are demonstrating in every single place, in the US, in France, in Italy, in Russia. So I have my friends and followers, they send me screenshots of where they are demonstrating. And these demonstrations were not something that I've seen before. It's like, a popular it's a popular movement it's becoming. So there are changes, but is the war stopping? It's not yet. Am I optimistic
Right.
about ending? I'm not optimistic, because what we're seeing that, it's like, I'm not really optimistic about a near ceasefire. And even the word ceasefire, it gives me anxiety. You know why? Because, for example, let's say that the ceasefire is happening at 7 o'clock at the night. So it's the most concentrated time where targets start happening. So, it's the time where more people start dying, like started getting killed, and more houses started getting demolished, and more targets happening. But the only difference is happening in the short frame of time. So, I really like, the only thing that I would hope for is an immediate ceasefire. It's an immediate call for the ending of this massacre. Like, sometimes I do say war, which is wrong, because what I'm seeing now, it's beyond war. It's a massacre against people of Palestine.
Right. War, our media loves to pretend this is a war between two seemingly equal sides, which is, of course, laughable. And so the term war evokes in people the wrong imagery. This it really is, ironically, a David versus Goliath situation.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing to see it, and it's amazing. I agree with you that I've seen more people talking about it. It seems like it is now allowable to be discussed, at least on our mainstream media here in the United States. You even have some of our Congress people, not enough of them, but some of them, demanding that Palestinians have a right to, life, liberty, and happiness, whereas that type of thing didn't used to be said. But obviously, words are not enough. I also wanted to ask you about the Great March of Return. Were you there for that?
I was there, yes. For part of it, I was there. And yeah, do you want me to explain what happened in the Great March of Return?
Yeah. Just talk about what the experience was like for you. I mean, it seemed for those of us paying attention in the United States that it really was just Israeli snipers killing innocent people when they felt like it. Women, children, elderly. It didn't seem to matter.
Mm-hmm. So basically, when we speak about the Gaza Strip, something about a population of 70% of people who are not from the Gaza Strip, who are refugees, including myself. So my grandparents, they were kicked out of their homes in 1948 from Al Jora village, which is a village near the sea. And, they were promised when they lived in a very inhumane conditions in camps, getting aid from UNRWA and living really poorly after they were able to establish themselves by their apartments and being able to be having a stable jobs. So they were promised that they will return to their lands. And if they're not returning, they will be compensated for the loss they have experienced. And that's supported by the United Nations of the resolution of 194. So they never returned. And they were never, till the last days of my grandparents, they were dreaming. And they also kept the houses, they kept the keys for their houses because they had this hope after 73 years that they would return. Never. They died and they had this dream because they didn't feel that Gaza was their home. So, and this is what the feeling that tens of thousands of people, of Palestinians from the Gaza Strip felt. They just wanted to go to the border, the artificial border between Palestine and Israel, in an attempt to remind the Israeli occupation that we did not forget our right of return, that we want to return because it's our rights as a human beings to return to our homes, because people live here, especially speaking about the refugee camps where they are in a very dense, like, buildings, and they live with very poor conditions. So they were peacefully protesting, and they were met by Israeli snipers cutting parts of people's and murdering people. And one of the people I painted was Razan al-Najjar. She was only my age. She was 21. And she was like a nurse. She was trying to help injured people. And she was wearing her white medic. So she was on duty, which she is protected by law because she is on duty. So she got killed by the heart. She got shot by the heart. So, and another journalist, Yasser Murtaja, he was also wearing his vest, the press vest, and he also got shot and killed. So I guess I can't really get the number of the people killed, but there were over 100 people who got killed by the Israeli sniper. So this is the Great March of Return briefly.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for taking this time. I know you're also an artist, and is there a way that people who are watching can keep up with your posts?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram or Facebook. You just write Malak Matar Artist in Instagram and in Facebook Malak Matar. And people can have access to my art, like buying prints from them through my Etsy, like Malak Art Store. So this is the way people can keep up with my posts and paintings.
You said it's Malak Matar Artist, right?
Yes, and Instagram.
Okay. Thank you again so much. I obviously hope things get better. I hope the bombs stop very, very soon. So stay safe.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks. Oh, well, that is gut wrenching and infuriating, and to hear her situation, and it's so fucking insane. It's so fucking insane that a country that we claim to support, that we sell billions of dollars of weapons to, that we act like is some sort of moral entity along with the United States, which, we're doing our own bombing in other countries, to watch them just rain bombs down on innocent people, and for most of our government to just either look the other way or actively say how that's great, that's fine. Yesterday, I read you tweets from Marco Rubio about, oh yeah, continue the bombing until we get rid of the terrorists. I mean, it's so fucking horrific. These people are, and this is what I was talking about this past week on Redacted Tonight. Like, there is a moral line. There is a line, and once you cross it, once you support shit like this, once you support bombing and killing of innocent people, once you support this, fucking ethnic cleansing and all this horror show of just a dumpster fire, you then don't tell me, oh, but Biden said he likes a $15 minimum wage, so he's my man. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. Even if he did, which of course he hasn't actually proven that he's going to get a $15 minimum wage. But even if he did, it's like, once you cross that moral line, why should I? Oh yeah, it's fine, you're killing a bunch of people, but as long as over here you're helping somebody get health care, oh, okay, then yeah, go murder all those other people. That's fine. It's totally cool. It blows my mind that people think that's all right, that people try to pretend they are moral or ethical human beings, and that's okay. It's fucking disgusting. And so anyway, I'm glad we got to hear from Malik from the ground about her life. I didn't want to keep her too long, but we got to hear her day to day, what it's like, the fact that it feels like earthquakes. I mean, you can't understate the amount of PTSD for even the people that aren't injured, that don't lose family members in it. Just the amount of harm and trauma that goes on for people just hearing the bombs landing near them has got to be unbelievable. I've mentioned this before. For those of you who want more information on Gaza, 2 excellent documentaries, both by friends of mine, have been released for free recently. They've been out for over a year now, but both have now announced that they are free. I believe both are on YouTube. One's called Killing Gaza by Max Blumenthal and Dan Cohen. The other is called Gaza Fights for Freedom by Abby Martin and Mike Preisner. Both of those are now free on YouTube, so you have no excuse for not watching them. They're both excellent documentaries. I guarantee, as much as you think you may know something about Gaza, you will learn something in both of those. You will hopefully learn a lot, and they serve as great, great resources to send to friends who are on the fence. And you get into a debate where they're like, well, Israel's got to defend itself, right? Right. Like a shark needs to defend itself against a minnow. It's got to defend itself. If you have friends like that, those are great movies to send them to try and educate them if they're actually willing to have an open mind. So before I get going here, though, I want to cover a second topic. So you get a twofer, a double, 2 scoops of topic coming at you. So that was about Gaza. This one is certainly related because you're talking about our war industry, the war, the fucking weapons that we sell to Israel. But so this is about the Pentagon, and it's an NPR article. Now, NPR, you should know in advance, NPR, National Petroleum Radio, as Greg Palast likes to call them. They are, just because I'm going to read from an NPR article, do not think that NPR is good on many of these topics. NPR is a lot of the time a full-on supporter of the U.S. state, the U.S. war machine. They help manufacture consent for these wars, manufacture consent for economic wars against places like China. They spew out all the garbage that of stories that are ultimately proven false, like Russiagate, like chemical weapons in Syria, like the genocide against the Uyghurs, which I've spent some time in previous episodes tearing that garbage apart. So they do all of that. So just because I'm about to do some quoting from NPR, don't run around thinking NPR is a legitimate source. I have learned great things from National Public Radio, and they sent me a tote bag, and tote bags can't be wrong. Never once has a tote bag lied to me. Never the once. So this is and I'm going to point out some of the kind of propaganda in this as well, but at least the basis of the story is true. This is about the Pentagon. The Pentagon was required, hold on a second. The Pentagon was required to have their first ever audit. They were supposed to start auditing themselves in the 90s. A bill was passed by Congress. And the Pentagon would come back every year and go, we're going to get on that. We've been meaning to, the audit. We've been meaning to do that. We're going to get on that. We just give us one more year. So they did that every year until finally in 2017, there was enough pressure on them that they actually had an audit of the Pentagon. Oh my God, people were running around. It's happening. It's really happening. Ron Paul was, he had like a seizure and erection at the same time. People were thrilled. Oh my God, it's really happening. We're going to have an audit of the Pentagon. We're going to find out where that fucking money's going. So, as I've also covered many times, the Pentagon has been shown to have $21 trillion of unaccounted for adjustments in their books. And that was just up through, I think, 2015, to like 2005 to 2015. Or maybe it was 2000 to 2015. Anyway, it might have been 15 years, something like 15 years. But anyway, $21 trillion of unaccounted for adjustments, meaning they're throwing money back and forth between departments. No one really knows where this is going. It's not a legitimate correction. You don't know where. And the New York Times tried to defend this by saying, well, generals aren't good at bookkeeping. That's what it is. Yeah, $21 trillion is such an immense amount of money. It's not about little errors, okay? This is about design. It is designed this way to have trillions of dollars of unaccounted for money just fucking flying around these various departments of the Defense Department, of the Pentagon. Really shouldn't call them the Defense Department because defense is not a thing. We don't do defense. When was the last time we defended ourselves, huh? When exactly was that? Maybe World War II? Arguably. We don't do defense. So our offense department, our obliterate others department. So the Pentagon, $21 trillion. There's now new articles saying it's upwards of $35 trillion unaccounted for adjustments. So this is NPR the other day. The Pentagon has never passed an audit. Some senators want to change that. So they are putting forward a bill. Well, I'll just read through some of it. When the Pentagon launched its first ever independent financial audit back in 2017, backers of accountability in government welcomed it as a major step for a department with a track record of financial boondoggles. So you can already see the propaganda at work, right? Because the words they're using sounds like, it's kind of fun, right? It's financial boondoggles. Who knows? It's even if it doesn't sound fun, I'm exaggerating, but it sounds silly, right? It sounds, I ended up in a financial boondoggle. Like if you found out that you had accidentally spent all your money on meth and also that you were being investigated for buying thousands of dollars of meth, and you were telling your friends about that, would you go, I'm in a bit of a financial boondoggle, a bit of a pickle? No, you'd go, holy shit, Jesus Christ, man, I'm fucked. And that's what this should be, because it's not a financial boondoggle, all right? This is the Defense Department, the Pentagon, spending trillions of dollars on various weapons, $1 trillion on the F-35 alone, which has turned out to be a disaster. The F-35 fighter jet that catches on fire while it's sitting on the runway, which that was not part of they were not planning on that. It's not like there's a button that says, catch on fire. That was not part of the schematics. Point to the part of the schematics where it says just have a light on fire switch. We did not order that. So F-35, piece of garbage, $1 trillion. Anyway, that's the type of thing. This is trillions of dollars disappearing to murder people around the world. That's what it is. So it's not a financial boondoggle, motherfuckers. Anyway, I also love the kind of euphemism of accountability in government. Backers of accountability in government. That sounds kind of nice, doesn't it? It's kind of gentlemanly. Oh, it's weird. We're looking for some accountability in government. These are sociopaths, some of them psychopaths, but mainly sociopaths, spending and making trillions of dollars to murder people around the world. And we're looking for a bit of accountability, imagine if you had a person in your neighbor, like an axe murderer, was just fucking killing everyone, just hatcheting children in the streets. And you walked out to him and you were like, hey, dude, I'm looking for a little financial accountability. I'm looking for a little you accountability on the, could you just tell me like how much does a hatchet cost? Because I've been looking at your books and I don't know how much you're spending on hatchets. I don't know how much you're spending on bleach to get that blood out of your shirt. That's a very nice shirt. It's a very nice shirt. I don't know how you get the blood out. And in fact, just for my own personal use, I'd like to know how you get those stains out, because I nick myself shaving, it ruins the shirt. But somehow you are doing great here. So, but I've checked your books and I'm looking for a little financial accountability. That's basically what this article is. We're literally currently bombing children and helping Israel bomb children. And meanwhile, NPR is like, and our government, the people bringing this bill forward are going, we'd like a little financial accountability just on the hatchet. Just tell us where you get the hatchets. So they had their first audit back in 2017. The Defense Department failed the audit, and the next two as well. And I hadn't even realized that part, by the way. Every once in a while, even I learned something on this topic where I thought I'd read everything on this topic. They've had 3 of these audits, and every one of them, they've come out literally like the fucking head of the Defense Department, Secretary of Defense, walks out and goes, here, we found the answer to the audit, and Ron Paul gets the erection again, and everybody's like, holy shit, it's happening. And then he goes, we failed the audit. And then he turns around and walks back into his cave and, goes back to gnawing on a fucking polar bear carcass or whatever he's doing. So each time, there's been 3 of these things. They just go, oh, we failed it. We didn't know. We don't know where it went, where the money went. Now lawmakers are introducing a bipartisan bill that would impose a penalty for any part of the department, including the military, that fails to undergo a clean audit. And this is when it gets really good. This is a quote from Bernie Sanders, I guess. The Pentagon and the military industrial complex have been plagued by a massive amount of waste, fraud, and financial mismanagement for decades. That is absolutely unacceptable. Thank you, Bernie. Believe it or not, that as kind of light as even that is, I mean, he's not talking about them as murderers, so it's kind of a light statement. But for our Congress people, that is the harshest you will ever hear. This is unacceptable. I dare say this is unacceptable. That is the best you'll get. So, to continue from the article, despite having trillions of dollars in asset and receiving hundreds of billions in federal dollars annually, it's actually closer to $1 trillion annually, the department has never detailed its assets and liabilities in a given year. I love they said that as if they had covered their assets and liabilities in years in general. They said in a given year. No, they've never explained their assets or liabilities fucking ever in any way. They just keep saying they fail audits. For the past 3 financial years, the Defense Department's audit has resulted in a disclaimer of opinion. Boy, doesn't that sound nice. A disclaimer of opinion, meaning the auditor didn't get enough accounting records to form an assessment. I mean, let's call this what it is. It's fucking fraud. That's fraud, you assholes. That is, if the IRS came to me and said, show us what's going on with your money, where it's going, where it's, where it's not going, what you're doing with it. And I just said, I have a disclaimer of opinion. That's all I got for you. Yeah. But tell us where all your money, what do you do with it? Where does it, because it looks like you've been muling a bunch of drugs in your rectum across the border, but we want to look at your tax records, not your tax records. We're the IRS. We want to look at your financial statements and see if that's true. And I was just like, I have a disclaimer of opinion. Yeah, here it is. Here, I've written opinion on this piece of paper. I hope you don't mind. I ripped it out of a book I was reading, but it was a comic book. But I wrote opinion on it. And so that's my disclaimer of opinion. This is fucking fraud. Just call it fraud, you fucking assholes. The new legislation, disclaimer of opinion, meaning the auditor didn't get enough accounting records to form an assessment. Do you think? So, I mean, how is this at all ever allowed? The auditors go into the Pentagon and they say, we're here to find out where the money's going, where trillions of dollars going. And the Pentagon goes, yeah, we're not going to give you the records. And then the auditors go, we couldn't figure it out. Because they refused to give us any records. How is that? Oh, okay. Yeah, let's move on with our lives. I mean, what this really is that our military industrial complex owns our government. So they're at no risk of, they can just say, oh, we don't know where the money's going. Good luck with that. We're not going to give you any records. And there's nothing that we can do about it because the military industrial complex owns our government. They are our government. They run our foreign policy. As I've covered before, I don't love Donald Trump, but when Donald Trump tried to pull troops out of various nations or tried to create peace with North Korea, it didn't happen. And that was because the military industrial complex said, we make those decisions. You do not make those decisions. So really, they own our government. Why do they? Fucking no one's going to tell them who's going to make them reveal where the money's going. The new legislation, the Audit the Pentagon Act of 2021. You know why else this is ridiculous? Is because it's like, we're going to do it again. That'll fix this. You see, they already did this. They fucking put a bill was passed in Congress in the 90s that said the Pentagon had to audit, had to be audited. Said that they had to have financial accountability. And they didn't listen to it for years. And then there was more pressure. And I think there was another bill that said, no, you really got to do it this time. So they did it. And then the auditors said, yeah, we couldn't find any information. And the Pentagon said, we failed our audit. And so now Congress is just doing the same thing again. They're just like, I'll tell you what, we're going to pass another bill. Says the same thing as the first one. Remember that time we told you you had to audit yourselves and you said you would and you didn't? We didn't like that. And so we're going to pass another bill. Says the same thing as first. But this one, we really mean it. We're going to write at the bottom, we really mean it, in big letters. This time, it's called the We Really Mean It Act. This time around, you do not do this. I'm talking to you, Pentagon. You do not tell us that you have no papers and that you won't do an audit and that you just made $1 trillion disappear and that you happen to have just bought your third beach house. You do not do that. Bad Pentagon. This is the bad Pentagon Act. I mean, what the fuck's going to be different with the second bill or third or whatever number this is saying the Pentagon's got to tell us where the money's going? Oh, but this gets to my favorite part in a second. The new legislation, the Audit the Pentagon Act of 2021, would require any component of the Defense Department that fails to pass a clean audit to forfeit 1% of its budget back to the Treasury to be applied against the federal deficit. The bill is slated to be introduced Wednesday. 1%. If you fail an audit, if you fail to tell us where the money's going, you owe us 1% of your budget. That's it. Like, we're taking $1 trillion every year and we're making it disappear. Some of it we actually spend on the bases or whatever. Who knows where the fuck the rest goes? There's articles that I've covered a lot of 13, in The Guardian even, $13 billion of printed cash, pallets of shrink-wrapped cash went missing in Iraq. Like flown, we're not talking about numbers on a computer screen. We're talking about pallets, tons of pallets of cash flown into Iraq and then just disappears. No one knows where it went. $13 billion, or maybe it was $12 billion. What's a billion between friends? And so they just make it disappear. And so then they, well, we made $1 trillion disappear. And we have $21 trillion of unaccounted for adjustments, but you want us to pay you 1%? Okay, that's adorable. Here you go. You take your 1%. You enjoy that. Don't spend it all in one place. You enjoy that. That's fucking, it's it's literally a parking ticket. Just about literally a parking ticket. Like, here you go, Pentagon. Pay us a drop in your bucket of fucking garbage, murderous mayhem, because it's actually almost encouraging more fraud, because it's saying, before we never announced what the punishment was. So you could have in your mind been like, what if Congress gets fed up and they decide to slash our budget by like 50% or something crazy? Like, you could, or what if one person, out of each department, the person is supposed to watch the financial records, what if they have to go to jail? Like, you could invent crazy, like, people at the Pentagon could have been nervous. What if it comes out that we're literally just making all this money disappear? Like, but now they know what the punishment is for not turning over the records, for not being correctly audited, for not revealing where the money goes. The punishment is a parking ticket. So now that they know that, they don't have to worry about, oh God, could we go to jail for this? No. We're announcing in the bill that the punishment for not telling us where all this shit is going, what it's going to, who's stealing it, the punishment is 1% of your budget. Honestly, this bill basically, in a lot of ways, encourages more fraud. It encourages keep operating the same way they are. In the lawmakers' eyes, the Pentagon's inability to go through a successful independent audit is a major reason why the Defense Department has for years been associated with financial blunders and abuses. Ooh, boondoggles, shenanigans, whippity whoopsies. Honestly, they make stealing money, committing fraud, using that money to bomb children. They make it sound pretty fun. Okay, it's just a bunch of boondoggles and shenanigans, and honestly, you half expect to hear the Benny Hill song behind the back of this. Blunders and abuses. Oh, blunder! It sounds like they slipped on a banana peel, doesn't it? Oops! I slipped on a pack of saran-wrapped $1 billion. Oops! The Pentagon is expected to receive $740 billion in the current financial years, but that's not accounting black budget, so it's actually closer to $1 trillion. But it hasn't been able to account for where all of its money goes. And by the way, NPR, although they are covering this, will not mention the $21 trillion of unaccounted for adjustments, or it's possibly $35 trillion now. They wouldn't get into that. Quote, it's absolutely insane, and I think it would shock a lot of people. A senior aide to Sanders said in a background interview that was conducted shortly before the legislation was formally introduced. The aide spoke only on background to provide details about pending legislation. Okay, this is another garbage thing they do. Really, dude? Your source for promoting a bill by Bernie Sanders to audit the Pentagon has to be on deep background? Fuck you. This is what our garbage mainstream media has become. They just they are endlessly promoting anonymous sources as if we should all just believe them. And in this case, you can believe them because it's not that big a deal, but that almost makes my point even more. Why is this guy on deep background? Our mainstream media goes to the CIA, the intelligence community, the Pentagon, everybody in Congress, and they quote them all as anonymous sources so that no one can ever check, no one can ever know whether this is legit. They have no risk of lying to the press, which we've seen again and again and again. And I just did a segment on how it's, this is how you have the media independently confirming false stories that are later retracted as false, yet they've independently confirmed them by going to the same anonymous sources at the CIA who made up the story in the first place, and they independently confirm it with the same fucking dude. But of course, they don't tell us the name of that person, so we can't go, hey, that's the same guy that made up this shit in the first place. Anyway, that's just a side note. Fuck all this anonymous sourcing garbage. The Pentagon blames some of the delay on its massive size. Yes. Anything large is impossible to audit. You guys should know that. So, any of these companies, Amazon, Walmart, none of them should ever be audited because apparently it's hard. I don't wanna. Pentagon blames some of the delay on its massive size. Its auditing process actually requires 24 standalone audits covering all the reporting entities. So here's the thing, though. When they say that actually makes it much less large, right? These are 24 different departments, each one of them standalone. So you just said it was too big, but now you've just admitted that it's divvied up into 24 departments, so it's not as big. So don't tell us it's too fucking big when in fact you've got 24 departments that are much smaller. Those are two sentences back to back, and they negate each other. Oh, the Pentagon is just too big. Also, these are 24 standalone, much smaller departments. Well, which is it? Is it too big, or is it 24 standalone, much smaller departments? It's both those things. Both those things. All of the things that make you go away and stop asking me questions. All of those things are true. Anything that makes you shut up is true. My boss just told me. So 24 standalone audits covering all the reporting entities in the DoD, along with a consolidated audit. The audits are performed by independent public accounting firms as well as the DoD Inspector General. By the way, fun fact, DoD Inspector General, I covered this on Redacted a while back, Department of Defense Inspector General has gotten roughly 100,000 whistleblower calls. It was like 99,000 whistleblower calls over a few years. People putting in complaints. Now that includes financial shit, it includes sexual harassment, it includes reprisals against people that revealed things. 100,000 various complaints on the Defense Department, various departments. Almost all of them, less than 1%, I think it might have been less than 0.1%, are even investigated. So almost all of them are thrown out. 100,000 over a few years. Whistleblower complaints, all thrown out. You know how every time that people talk about Edward Snowden or something, or Chelsea Manning, they say, why didn't they go through the proper channels? They should have gone through the proper channels to complain about stuff that was going wrong. Proper channels. You got to go through the channels that are the best proper channels. Well, you notice in those reports, they don't mention that 100,000 people tried to go through the proper channels. They submitted to the Inspector General, and the Inspector General didn't even investigate almost any of them. They just threw them out at face value. So there you have it. The proper channels are fucking garbage. That's why people don't go through the proper channels. You idiots. But critics note that all federal agencies, including the Pentagon, have been under the same requirement to undergo an independent financial audit since the early 1990s. Every other federal department has satisfied audit requirements since fiscal 2013, when the Department of Homeland Security had its first clean audit. Quote, we've seen example after example of excessive and inefficient spending. Yes, that's all it is, inefficient. It's not deep and impressive fraud. It's just inefficient. We've seen example after example of excessive and inefficient spending by the Pentagon, and every dollar squandered is a dollar not being used to support our men and women in uniform, Grassley said. After 30 years to get ready, this bill pushes the Defense Department to finally achieve a clean annual audit, a requirement that every other federal agency is held to. Yes, after 30 years, this bill pushes them to finally achieve a clean audit, or we will take 1% of your budget from you. That's right. If you don't do this, we will take a couple of pennies out of your pocket. You empty your pockets. We're taking it all. Empty your pockets. Whatever change you got. No, not dollar bills, just change. Whatever nickels and dimes you have. Throw those our way. That's your punishment for not doing a proper audit. So yeah, I think I've made it clear that I have no hope for this bill to actually do anything. So there's that. But, let's just keep passing the same bill, saying the same thing over and over again. And I'm sure eventually the Pentagon will feel bad for us. They'll feel bad that Congress has to keep passing these bills, and they'll ultimately go, you know what? Let's do a legit audit just because we've been quite rude to them. I feel bad. They're trying so hard out there. Quote, this is the senior aide to Sanders that won't reveal his name again, his or her name. Quote, right now, the Pentagon can't even tell you where all of its buildings are located in the United States. That's not a lie. That is true. The Pentagon, and I covered this on Redacted a while back, the Pentagon has found numerous buildings that it didn't realize it had in recent years. They just discovered that they own buildings. They lost buildings. That's how big the Pentagon's couch cushions are. They lost buildings down the cracks of their couch cushions. They also lost, I think it was 39 Black Hawk helicopters that they found again later. Really, the only reason they know that they lost them is because they find these things. So how many things have they lost, but they don't know they've lost them? Probably far more. These are the ones they found, and when they found them, they were walking along and they were ran smack dab into a building, and they're like, when did that get there? And they're like, oh, that's ours. That's one of ours. Oh, that's totally one of ours. Oh my God. I didn't realize we put this here. Did you put it? I didn't realize. Yeah. Now that I see it, I remember having this building. I remember there was a time we built this building, but I totally forgot where we put it. I misplaced it, because you know what it is? I used to keep this building with my car keys, but then I decided I'm going to carry it separately in a separate pocket. And the moment, because then I remember the car keys and I think, oh, the building's with the car keys, but then I forget the building. And so anyway, it's good. It's good. I'm glad we have this here. This is excellent that we now have this building here. It's good. It's good. Have you seen those Black Hawk helicopters? Roughly 39, 40 I've been looking for. Because I used to keep those with my cell phone. All right. Anyway, a failed audit from one recent year, quote, uncovered a warehouse full of aircraft parts for planes that haven't been used in over a decade. And then there's the F-35, the notoriously expensive and controversial Joint Strike Fighter jet. Despite costing more than $1.7 trillion, I'm sorry, I shot low. It's closer to 2 trillion. I said 1 trillion earlier. I said the 1 trillion F-35. I meant the 1.7, almost 2 trillion F-35, which just, I like to throw this out there just so you can try and process it. If you make $40,000 a year, it would take you 25 million years to make $1 trillion, to make $1 trillion. 1.7 trillion, now it'd take you longer. Not good with the maths. Despite costing more than $1.7 trillion in an estimated life cycle, attempts to audit the program have run into major hurdles. All right. So they can't even audit one program, one little program. It is a giant, the Pentagon is a giant money laundering scheme. Not to mention mass murder, but also money laundering. They can walk and chew gum at the same time. They can murder and steal at the same time. That's what it is. It is a giant mass murder machine, and then they're, secondary. It's kind of like when you go in like a shoe store and they have a little thing at the cash register like with candy in it. And you're like, well, I was just here for the shoes, but I might as well grab a Kit Kat while I'm standing here. That's what the little thing of candy, that's the theft. That's the money laundering. The shoe store part of the Pentagon is murdering people and making sure the United States can keep crushing countries and stealing resources. But then the little thing at the cash register, kind of a side business they got going, is money laundering, so they can just keep stealing it and enriching all of the oligarchy, which was already rich, but they never think they're rich enough, so they keep stealing more and more money. All right, guys, I think that might be it. Let's read the last paragraph. Let's see how NPR sums it up. As for when or if it might become law, the bill's future most likely lies in being included in the next National Defense Authorization Act, which is expected to be taken up this fall. So, if they squeeze it in to the NDAA, which shouldn't exist in the first place, if they squeeze it into that, then it might pass. Then the Pentagon can start ignoring that bill, because so far they've only ignored a few others, and it'd be nice to ignore one more so they can start ignoring that one soon. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Please take a second to share this. If you donated, all the donations go to people who are struggling, those in need. We try and help you out. A little solidarity fund. We are, I believe, the only independent media live stream that actually tries to fund our viewers who are struggling. I think that's fairly original to us. So please, thanks for helping out. You can, even if you're not watching this live, you can always donate on Venmo at Lee Camp. And we have a live stream where we get more into explaining the donations and everything. That's on Sunday nights at 8 p.m. this Sunday, I believe we're doing, 8 p.m. Eastern. Put it on your calendar. Put it right now on your calendar. Put a little scratch and sniff sticker next to it so you remember. And then you can scratch it and smell. If you have one that smells like me, which that's not going to be pleasant, but it'll remind you. It won't be enjoyable, but you'll remember. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, Sunday night with Eleanor Goldfield. But I also have a new Redacted Tonight coming out tomorrow night. I have a new Government Secrets with Graham Elwood. You should and here's the thing: if you like what I do, you should check out Government Secrets, and you can listen to back episodes because it's pretty evergreen. We're covering the ongoing government secrets that go back generations in the United States. So very evergreen, always good episodes there. That's on the podcast platforms. You can grab that, listen for free, and keep fighting, I think. Yeah. Why don't you do that? Keep fighting.